Hello everybody, my name is Pals, and today I want to talk about the viability of the Tomislav versus the stock minigun in North American Platinum Highlander in the game TF2 for the class Heavy. That pretty much covers everything. Who I am, so that you all know, I am the starting Heavy for the team Chill Penguins. Chill Penguins has won UGC Platinum 3rd place 2 seasons in a row, seasons 20 and 21. Before that, I have been a Platinum Heavy since Season 14 and been playing Highlander in general since Season 9. To start, I am very, very serious about saying that high-level Platinum North American Highlander. I don't want to talk about European Highlander because I don't know anything about European Highlander. I'm not going to talk about 6v6 because running Heavy in 6v6 is a completely other subject to itself. And most importantly, I don't want to talk about pub gameplay, or notably casual or community servers, or even Valve's matchmaking. The reason that pubs are not interesting or noteworthy for consideration in talking about theory crafting or gameplay styles is that the range and skill level is huge. The communication within the teams is poor to non-existent, and players might not even have the same goal in winning the actual game that they are in. Because of these reasons, theory crafting anything beyond what class to run is pretty useless. Sure, the standard logic of some weapons being better than others holds, but due to disparaging skill levels, it is possible to get 10Ks as a shotgun Heavy or as a rocket jumper soldier. That's just not something that you can account for and make playstyles changes around very easily. There are too many variables in a standard pub match to say that an unlock or class is best, or to debate its viability. In high level TF2, everyone has the same skill, which is the best possible. Communication is constant and is at a high level, and everybody has the same motivation to win. It is at this level that sound determinations of viability and strategy can be made. If someone is asking about pub strategy in this sort of capacity, I would say it is probably a good indicator that they're ready to step up to competitive through lobbies, pubs, joining a team, however they feel they want to do it. Because if you're asking about these types of things, it usually means you're sick and tired of your team dragging you down in pubs, and you're ready to make that big step. Now, with that out of the way, let's move on to what you're all here to watch, the actual theory crafting and logic behind the decisions. Alright, so let's start with the facts for both of the weapons. We'll start with the stock, because that's the one that has been around forever. So we're going to go really just nitty gritty with this, because they're both miniguns and it's hard to really do much else with it. So the stock minigun, we get 4 bullets per quote unquote shot. Each shot is at a 0.1 second interval. The rev up and rev down time of the stock minigun is 0.87 seconds. When you are revved up, your movement speed slows by 47%. After you have revved up, you have a damage and accuracy ramp up over the course of 1 second to reach your maximum full damage and accuracy potential. So what that means is, and it applies to all miniguns in case you did not know, what it means is that when you first rev up and you start shooting, you are at low accuracy and low damage as a result. After 1 second, you linearly get up to your maximum after you start firing the bullets, or after you've been revved up for 1 second. A little complicated, but it's an important aspect of Heavy that I think some people still don't fully understand. The base damage with no ramp up, so that's as soon as you're done with the rev up animation, you start shooting, we're talking 9 damage per bullet for that. And remember, there's 4 bullets per shot, so each bullet does 9 times 4, 36 damage. If you hit all 4 bullets. At maximum, you're doing 13.4 damage per bullet, so 52 for each bullet. At max range, your damage falls off to 5 damage per bullet. We don't want to do the math for that, it's just 20. A new aspect that's kind of been overlooked now with Heavy, this is an MVM nerf I feel, but applies to Highlander anyway. We have decreased damage to sentries, 15% decreased damage to a level 2 sentry, and a 20% decrease in damage to a level 3 sentry. So all that in considered, the most important statistics you need to know is at point blank you do 500 damage per second. This alone, this statistic alone, it really lends credence to my previous video where I talked about the Fist of Steel, or you want to stay revved up as much as possible, even if you're about to die, because you can kill every class in less than a second if you hit every single bullet out of your gun. So stay revved constantly, please. Keep your ramp up damage ramped up. Keep transitioning to a minimum. This is just general heavy gameplay strategy. And now we'll talk about the Tomislav. How it differs from the stock is really the only thing that we really want to talk about here. Besides its obvious cosmetic difference, we have a 20% faster rev up time, a 20% higher accuracy, no sound while revved, which is a strange mechanic. Finally, we have a 20% reduction in firing speed. Point blank, your DPS with this is 400. So you can still kill like most classes. Not most classes. Yeah, actually most classes, because Heavy's 450, right? Unless he's got, what is that weapon? Warrior Spirit equipped? Most classes, you can kill in under a second. Heavy, but in reality it's a little bit more, and we can talk about that a little bit later. And also importantly is the raw numbers for the 20% of more accuracy and the reduction in firing speed. So the attack interval is now 0.12 seconds, and your rev time is 0.696 seconds. So the strengths of the Tomislav over the stock are clearly the faster rev time and the accuracy. I did mention the rev noise is a little strange, and that's because it's a nice mechanic in theory, but in practicality, in high level TF2, every team knows where everybody else is 99% of the time. So it really is not going to be something that's relevant in 90% of games, maybe even every game. Due to the accuracy bonus, there is an extremely narrow range where the Tomislav out DPSs the minigun, no matter like how your bullets land. And this narrow range, it's best described as just within and just past the max range sticky shot. So you're shooting the sticky at 45 degrees, so it has its maximum arc, but it's not being charged. These are just single spam stickies, and you're getting them as far as possible. The faster rev time also means it is easier to respond to aggression while transitioning. This is extremely important for teams that are like mobile, because you're able to get your ramp up faster when you're doing that, and you can get up to your 400 DPS. And also, the often overlooked statistic is the ammo conservation. Since you have a slower attack interval, you're conserving ammo. You're using less ammo per second revved up. So if you are in an area with no dispenser, no capability of getting ammo, then hey, ammo conservation on Tommy. Strengths of the stock over the Tomislav. We get higher or equal to DPS at most ranges. So what does that mean? When we're talking about most ranges, we mean the range that is within the Tomislav's best DPS zone, which is that sticky zone we were talking about. That zone to point blank. That entire range, the minigun is better than the Tomislav. Past that range, the Tomislav slightly falls off as having the higher DPS. They'll still be doing that maximum fall off damage of 5 damage per shot. So it's really not really worth considering whatsoever. Because of that giant area where the minigun is better, it's pretty easy to see why I don't consider the Tomislav to be straight upgrade. I don't think anybody else should either. It's also as easy to see why minigun is preferable to the Tomislav in a lot of scenarios, because that range is a range that is very, very active for a heavy. That is the range that players would start threatening your medic within. Like a soldier or a scout, a pyro especially in that range is extremely dangerous to a medic, so it's very important that you have your max DPS at that range. And it's worth, in my opinion, for certain teams and certain playstyles and certain situations, yada yada yada, it's worth it to have the trade-off that you don't have that narrow band where you can just kill a demo in like 2 seconds, and you can instead be able to protect your medic. That's my reasoning, at least for 90% of the times that I would run stock instead of Tomislav. We have more forgiving on tracking errors. This is because since there is a wider cone, if you are slightly behind or slightly in front of or slightly above or slightly below a target that you're shooting at, you are more likely to hit that target with one of your bullets. As a result of that, it's easier to stall bombers or shoot fast-moving targets in general. In addition, the larger cone of fire gives better crowd control. Quote, this is like kind of a strange thing to talk about and with a class that doesn't do explosive damage, but you can shoot multiple targets at once. So if you're a whole bunch of clumped up people are coming at you, you're most likely are going to be doing damage to every one of them. And lastly, it's better for finding invisible spies because of that. It's easier to track them as they go along. Now let's talk about the theory and the preference behind when to run Tomislav over stock or when to run stock over Tomislav. We'll talk about the Tomislav first, since that's the one that people have a lot of opinions about. Coming from me, the Tomislav is best for maps and teams that need to be highly mobile, which most importantly plays to the strength of that rev speed, which I talked about earlier. If you're fighting within the narrow band within that demo man sticky spam area, if you're within that band, also that is a very good time. It's hard to judge that, but if you know that that's going to be the range you're shooting at, Tomislav is better, 100%. If you're in a long fight with multiple 1v1s, so the ammo conservation comes into play as well. If people say that Tomislav is better for long-range targets, in my opinion, you should just disregard anything they say about anything afterwards. Long range is the max fall off, the 5 damage shots. At that range, it doesn't matter what gun you're going to be shooting at, because you're going to be hitting like maybe one shot like in 3 or 4 seconds. You're going to do 20 damage over 5 seconds. It's not worth it. You're wasting ammunition. It is literally irrelevant. You could be running stock or you could be running Tomislav. Sure, you'll be saving bullets running the Tomislav, but the damage is it's not a thing you consider. You're just wasting ammo. It's never good as heavy to spam over a long range over time. This is because you're wasting ammo, which is extremely hard to come by as heavy. You have an extremely large ammo pool, but it goes away very, very quickly, even with the Tomislav. By just spamming continually, you're making your damage per ammo garbage, and that's a stat that's not tracked anywhere. It's a stat that you should probably consider thinking about when you're considering shooting that person that is on playground on upward and you're just sitting at spawn. There are 1 or 2 scenarios where long range heavy spam is advisable. If you are going to deny crit heals with just 1 bullet, then it is advisable. Crit heals are extremely important, especially in Highlander, because there's so many heal targets. If you see a player that you know has just respawned, they haven't been healed yet, and you want to deny, even if they've been healed a little bit, deny their crit heals during that. That's good. Just for 1 bullet. Another one is if you know the player is under or like around 10 health points, where you can easily just do the damage required to kill them, because it's a dead player. It's a net benefit no matter what. Next, after that little digression, let's talk about the stock for defending against waves and waves of players sacking into your combo. Because of the higher DPS, as players get closer, it plays into that strength of the stock, so you will kill them faster. And also, since it is easier to track the players that are bombing you, it is easier to stop bombers as well. In the air, it's easier to do the thing that you see the 1 or 2 heavy play the game, whatever frag clips that you see. Also, the stock is best when you see a large amount of stagnant gameplay. We're talking stalemates here. In this type of gameplay, the rev up time really doesn't matter, because you should be revved 100% of the time, ready to get ready for any sort of aggression. In addition, you were able to get ammo from dispensers easily, so the bonus for the Tomislav of having easier to conserve ammo is negated by the fact that you will just have a continual supply of ammo. So, coming from all the information, it's pretty easy to see why I don't think the Tomislav is a straight upgrade over the stock. It's an example, and probably the best example in TF2, of the most viable side grade to any other stock weapon in the game. It has a very set clear advantageous playstyle that is fairly different from the stock miniguns playstyle. If it were possible to switch miniguns on the fly, like how Dota 2 has right now with their backpack type deal with items, I would probably run Tomislav full time. I would roll out with that, but that's not an idea that can exist, because as it exists right now in TF2, you gotta go to spawn and equip which one you want to get stuck in. You can actually see in this clip that we're watching here, I was running Fist of Steel and it for I think a whole round because I didn't die, and it didn't necessarily hamper me, but it's definitely not the preference that I would have wanted for playing the whole round on this map. So, generally speaking, how I choose to play this, if the enemy team is being very aggressive, I 99% of the time will use stock because it'll kill them faster. If my team is getting rolled pretty hard or something like that, and I need to be able to rotate easily, big map like Process or something like that, I'll probably run Tomislav because you can rev faster in between your transitions. To choose which one is best for any particular person or time or team, it really comes down to your game sense, your team, and how they play, and how you personally play. Heavy is super dependent on his team since he is the slowest class in the game, and as a result of that, it's rare to see a Heavy doing extremely well and having his team all suffering as well. It's a team performing well will usually mean that team's Heavy is also going to perform well. This differs from classes like Scout, Sniper, Soldier, Spy, because those classes can take 1v1 super easily with their various mechanics that make it easy for them to get frags. So now the deeper nitty-gritty personal experience of the way I use the two unlocks with my team, the Chilled Penguins. I run stock pretty much exclusively. And the reason for this is my team has had issues punishing aggression coming into our combo. This is due to the way that our Pyro American play. He played a very aggressive, flank-heavy Pyro, so it's usually just me with our combo that would be able to stop anybody coming in and killing us and our medic. And as a result, I use stock. My team also plays very, very slow, and so the stagnant gameplay, the stock works best for that because I don't have to deal with the ramp up thing. I'm always going to be getting that maximum damage. When I would run Tomislav with Chill Penguins, it was only in scenarios that were showing that it was going to be better 100% of the time. So you saw an example of this on the clip I've showed right now. It's on Tomislav. The B point holding it, I play on that little hut that is next to the default sentry spot, and at the range from that hut to the main doorway, that range it exemplifies the Tomislav's higher DPS range. So I run it so that I can kill Demo Man that peak that very quickly, and I do that a couple of times I think in this clip. Also, since I'm playing on that hut, I'm very far away from the dispenser, and it's hard to rotate easily for me unless we have just wiped the enemy team or we know they're going E. So I will run Tomislav to help myself conserve ammo. So when pushing as well on B, this is all on B, I would run Tomislav to help secure the aggression to get upper on B. So that's when you go right out of the B spawn doors and you go up those stairs up there. I made a play with the Fist of Steel on that and the Buffalo Steak Sandwich as well. And in this clip, I run it then because that range is also the range that the DPS is greater. So I'm able, if there's a heavy up there, might win that 1v1. It's a 50-50 shot, depends on who else is coming in with me. I used to run Tomislav pretty exclusively actually back in season 17 when I played on the Curse of Knowledge team. That was a joke season, didn't have playoffs, but I still ran it pretty exclusively because my team composition at that time was a bunch of Invite 6s players. So what that meant is we were extremely mobile, and I needed to be transitioning very often with having, I think we had Corsa on Scout and Vanny on Demo Man. So those two players played very fast. In order to even keep up with them, I needed to be able to rev and unrev as fast as possible. So I ran it then. And now I'm playing on a team with the exact opposite playstyle. So now I run the stock. It's a side grade. There's no other way of getting around it. If you say it is overpowered or it's just clearly better than stock, which would imply it's overpowered, I'm pretty sure you're wrong on this. I'm sorry. And so that's it. Thank you everybody for listening and watching this. I tried editing this, but I'm garbage at it, so I tried to choose a clip that at least showed a little bit of the playstyles of each weapon, and I tried my best to explain everything to everybody. So if you have any questions, leave a comment. I'm going to be posting this on the social meteors of Reddit. I'll be in there watching that as well. And yeah, again, as with my previous video, if you have a contentious point that you'd like to bring up against me or something that I forgot to consider, please talk about it. I'd like to become the best at the game, and we all just want to become better, so being able to dialogue about that's pretty darn strong. And thank you all so much. Have a good day.